Hello and welcome back to the final segment in the Sage Intacct Construction Inventory Configuration and Workflows series. In today's session, we're going to talk a little bit about our final two topics here under other processes. We're going to talk about, go around and run some inventory reporting, talk about maintaining inventory valuations and physical counts. So let's dive right in. I'm going to switch over to my instance here for today. Let's go right in and let's go to the inventory module, and we'll go through some of the reports that you can run in the menus here. So you'll notice inside inventory under all, and you could do this at the top level or at the entity level if your security restricts you to the entity level. So one of the things you'll have here in the reporting areas, you always have your custom views if you've deployed them. So a lot of those views that we were looking at in the other sessions with inventory stock items, things like that, you can get into that right from here if you want to. Then you also have the ability to run some pre-built-in reports, and you're going to find them below the dotted line here in the reporting section on the all menu. And you can see there's some reports here for inventory, analysis, costing, journals and registers, status and valuations. I like to use the status one because it can quickly show me what's on hand for a particular item, for a particular warehouse. So you'll notice with all of these inventory reports, you're going to have a lot of filtering capabilities. Do I want to see items with activity? Do I want to see by UPC or item number? Do I want to filter on a particular item or a particular warehouse? So maybe I'm just looking to see what's in the GC warehouse. And, so just make sure you scroll through these and use these accordingly. But in this case, let's just see the GC warehouse, and I'll click View here. And now this is just going to give me an item recap, but this is nice because it shows me what's on order, what's on hand, and more importantly, what's available in each of the items. So you can run through some of these reports. We'll take a look at the valuation one in a second. If you want to run some lists, there's an item list, price list, vendor list, and depending on what features and functionality you have turned on in this module, you could track your lots, you can track your serial numbers on particular items. So for example, if I want to take a look at my serial numbers and maybe I want to see what do I have just for the stoves, for the gas stoves, and I could do a view here. Now, keep in mind, sometimes, and I don't think this one has it, sometimes you have a detail versus summary option. I don't have it there, so I'm going to click View. And it's going to show me all my serial numbers for my stoves that we've used in the system. So this one kind of shows you this serial number's been sold. So it's the zero quantity. But you can kind of see here's the ones that are on hand. And there's the serial numbers for those inventory items. Okay, so you can run those types of reports. And then same thing if you do any lot tracking. There's a nice report here, track your lots. You could run specifically on a particular item. So if I'm tracking lots on my steel, I just want to see my steel items. And you could pick a particular warehouse if you wanted to. I'll just click View. And you'll see here I have 3 lot numbers in stock. And I have 5,600, I think it's feet here. Probably want the quantity description on this report. 100 left here and 100 left here. So you can kind of see that from within the reports. For physical counts, you're preparing for physical counts. There is a physical inventory report here as well. So if I click on that, there's a lot of filters for this. You can elect to hide quantities or not, whether if someone's doing the physical count, if you want them to see how many quantities on hand or not, you can uncheck or check that. You could report on by UPC code or item. If you're using barcoding, you could flip that over. And let's see what else we got here. And we're just going to look at this one warehouse. Let's say GC warehouse today. We're in that. So we're going to say GC to GC. And then we get down here. We do have some formatting options. So do I want to see this in detail? And usually for a physical count report, wouldn't recommend seeing it in detail. You're probably going to say summarized by warehouse in here as well. Okay. So if I can run this, I could export this to Excel. Some people want to export it right to Excel. I'm going to go ahead and hit View, and we'll take a look at it. So you can see here for the GC warehouse, it shows me my item numbers and I said don't hide the quantities, so the quantities are here as well. What I like about this report is use this little settings wheel here, and you can change the column depth. If you're running a physical report, you may want to have some spacing in place to write on this report as well. So you can change the spacing of this report before you print it out. That's what you want to do. So a lot of people will say hide the quantity, view, and then maybe space that out in more detail. So you can do that type of thing as well. Now what you can also do is you could change this summary level to detail, and you'll notice you have reporting groups. So I can report by aisle, row, bin. And I'm not sure if I have any in here, but let's take a look. So if you're doing this by a particular location, I don't have any aisles set up, but it would say, here's the items that are going to be in aisle 1. Here's the items that are going to be in aisle 2, and so forth. So the reports can be made. Now, these are just out of the box reports here. But of course, with your reporting tools, you can make your own custom reports, your own interactive custom reports, maybe put a line in there for someone to write in a quantity, things like that. And then just like we saw in the earlier videos, if you had adjustments to make for your quantity, you would go into your inventory transaction adjustments and either import those if you're doing it like through Excel, or key them in manually right in here as we saw in the earlier sessions. So that's how you can handle your physical counts. What you can also do in the system is you can do what's called a maintain inventory valuation. So depending on your inventory methods, you may need and may want to update your cost transactions, especially for open periods, for items that have been received or sold to reflect a true value of your inventory at that time. So what you can do is you can come into this maintain inventory valuation, and what I would recommend is go ahead and hit this help and support once you're in there and say help on this page. It really goes into lengthy details of what you should be doing here and what options you have. So if I click on the overview here, there's a lot of different ways you can handle this. You could do what's called basic or quick mode. You could do and turn on automatic nightly updates. So you can have this system checking your valuations every night, especially if you're using like average cost, standard cost, maybe the standard cost rate changed. We'll show you that scenario. And you want to update all those inventory values that have happened in GL periods that are still open. You can also do advanced to some more advanced methods here, but we're going to focus on just the basic quick method. And I'll show you in the settings where you can turn this automatic nightly update mode on. But go ahead and read through this in detail. It really goes through very well on what you can do here, what happens on these transactions as you run these valuations. Now, there is another method. Actually, we'll talk about it in the end. So let's go into the configuration. So if I go back into inventory on my top level, setup configuration, and if you scroll down, you'll see this MIV costing, maintain inventory valuation costing update. So this is where I can turn on if I want to run automatic nightly costing started as of this date. How do you want to sequence and run the costing for your average if you're on average cost? And what journal do you want to post any adjustments to? Now, this is for prior period cost of goods sold adjustments, and we'll talk about that at the end here. But you could turn that on, and that's where you would do it. I'm going to leave it off for this one. What you can also do is go in and manually do a quick valuation on it at any point in time in the system. So let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's just put some items. So if we look at, for example, in my item, I think I set up an item called widget 2. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. So in here in widget 2, I have some quantities on hand. My standard cost is $6.50, and this item is on standard costing method. Okay. So let's just go and receive. Let's just put in a receipt. Now you could do this through one of the workflows that we did in the earlier sessions, but I'm just going to do a direct receipt for this item just to show a transaction for you. So we'll say as of 12/18, we had that widget 2 came in to GC warehouse, and let's say it's 25 items, and there's that standard cost at $6.50. We're going to go ahead and post that transaction. Okay, so now we have some transactions in there. And now let's say for some reason we went in and we changed the standard cost on that item later in the month or something like that. Price went up. We have that widget 2 here. I can come into here now and I can, if I have security, I can update that standard cost. And let's say it's going up to $8 a unit. So we'll change the standard cost. We'll click save. And what you could do is you can run a valuation on it now. So I can come over to the inventory and I can hit this plus button to run my new valuation. And this is just some items that it's giving you warnings on that we haven't really run this on yet, my demo data. But what you can do here is you do have a basic and you have an advanced. So you can peruse through the advanced, look at the help on some of the things you can do with this. But we're going to just go and run a basic here. And the reality is we can have this automatically run it. So really the advanced is if you want to filter this, like maybe we know we had a change on the widget, so we just want to filter that, okay? Or we just want to pull all the items that have a standard cost, something like that. Now what you can also do, and I did skip over and apologize for that, is I mentioned one other report here. So if I go back to inventory control, and I take a look under inventory, my valuation report, I can get a kind of recap, and you can use this tool to see what does need to run an update on. So I'm just going to filter on that widget so we don't have to scroll through some pages. So let's just take a look at that item as of today. Let's click view. So you can see here that I have some items here and they're for $650 in the system, and I can see my valuation here. So I know now I might want to create a report. What I would suggest is maybe create a report that shows maybe a variance in last cost versus the standard cost, and you can kind of get a quick glimpse of what items might need to be updated. But in this scenario, I'm just going to go into here and I'm going to say, you know what, I just want to run this. All my items are standard. So I just want to come into my inventory valuation and I want to click add. And I'm just going to use the basic approach and let it generate anything that's supposed to be generated in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click run. And the system's going to show me down at the bottom, here's the affected transactions. So I can see that it found 3 transactions that are in open period. So it's only going to look in your GL that's opened. So that was $650. And so basically what we're going to show you here is unit cost after $8, $8, $8, value before, value after, cost of goods sold posted before and after. So it went and made all the changes. And not only that, it made them into the actual transaction batches. It didn't actually create a new batch. It just updated the cost on those lines. You can get a more detailed results here by clicking download on your cost of goods sold here. And it'll give you an analysis review here of what it looked at and what it changed. So I'm going to let that open up. And if I drag this over so you can see it, you'll see a detailed report here on here's all the items it looked at and what it did. So you have a nice little recap here of that. So I can click done now. So if you're looking for that change, if I go look at my batches that happened and posted through General Ledger, if I go into General Ledger, my inventory journal entries go through the inventory journal. Let's look at transactions here. So you can see, let me sort by date. So here's the one we just did. If I go view that now, you'll notice those items are costed at the $8 now, I believe. That's the one that I just did. Actually, let's go take a look at it in the, oh, here we go. Yep, so you can kind of see here, the original was 25 at $650. And if we take 25 times 8, that's the 200 value that it is now. So the original entry was that, and you can kind of track it back and say, look at the new valuation is 200. Okay. So it'll go back and make the entries for you in the system. Now, what you can also like to do is, if it's a closed period, You do have an option in inventory control here. If you have security for it, you'll see a prior period cost of goods sold adjustment. And you can elect to run transactions and updates on closed periods. Okay, so you can go ahead and either reopen the period or you can actually run transactions on closed periods through this process here. That's an optional piece. For more information on that, I would say go ahead and dig into the help on that if you need it, or jump on a Q&A. But these are just some little tools in inventory to kind of wrap up the series here that you can use. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the bottom of this video or join up for a Q&A session. Love to chat with you further on it. And this is going to conclude the inventory construction series for Sage Intacct. Thank you.